attention, please.
You need passion. You need desire. You need want. We play with that passion. We play together. We play for each other. And we play to win. We are Notre Dame.
It's time for the Notre Dame Report, brought to you by Indiana Dunes Tourism. It's my great pleasure to welcome the programme once again, Len Clark. Welcome to the programme, Len.
Good afternoon, Declan. How is everything in Dublin today?
Well, things are good, and we're looking at it from a Fighting Irish standpoint. The dress rehearsal for next year's big game in Dublin went very well.
It did, and I had a chance to talk to some Navy officials about the game in Dublin next year that we'll get into, but I called yesterday's big win at Notre Dame a Declan Hughes day because your favorite player really lit up the pitch yesterday. Chase Claypool with an all-world performance yesterday to help lead the Fighting Irish to a 52-20 win over the Naval Academy.
Not just one touchdown, not just two touchdowns, but 4 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns, and that ties a school record held by a couple of other individuals, and he could have had more. But they pulled Ian Book late in the third quarter to let Phil Jerkovich come in. And as Chase Claypool said yesterday in the press conference, hey, distribute the ball. It's a team effort. And he was just glad that Notre Dame won the game. But when you win, everything is fine. But it really showed that Notre Dame is clicking on all cylinders as we get to the latter part of November.
Well, what we're going to do now is going to bring some of the play-by-play for you. So I'm going to play the first four touchdown plays for the listenership here, just as I get an idea of how the game rolled out. Because you raced into a 28-zip lead at one point and then stretched to 38-zip. So we'll do the first 4 touchdowns here.
Ian Book from the shotgun. Chase Claypool in motion across the formation. Book takes the snap, drops back, looks open at the 5 and into the end zone. Chase Claypool. 6-0 Notre Dame. 9:39 left in the first quarter. Ian Book from the shotgun, Tremble in motion. Waits for the snap. There it is. Drops back 3 steps. Looks over the middle of the field. Fires right down the middle. Chase Claypool at the 5. Touchdown Notre Dame. Beautiful toss. 47 yards out, right on the fingertips of Chase Claypool. He has 2 touchdown catches, and Notre Dame has a 13-0 lead over Navy. 3:11 left in the first quarter. Malcolm Perry now facing 2nd down 14. Takes the snap, drops back in the pocket, looks downfield, steps up, down he goes. Sacked on the near hash at the 17-yard line by Owusu Koromoa. Another loss of 4. Book waits for the snap, takes the ball, play action, steps up in the pocket, lifts it way downfield to Braden Lenzy, catches it middle of the field, 15, 10, 5, touchdown Notre Dame! 70 yards, Book to Lenzy.
So at that stage, they were 28-zip up. You must have known it was going to be a good day for the Fighting Irish at that point.
Well, Notre Dame came out and scored early. And then Navy came back and was driving the ball down the field. Now, Navy has the triple option, which is probably the most difficult offense to defend in college football. The quarterback is the key. He can either pass the ball, hand it off, or run it himself. And their quarterback, Malcolm Perry, who leads the country in rushing with his offense, fumbled the ball. And that really changed the game. And Notre Dame got it back and jumped out to that 28-0 lead. And Chase Claypool, as you said, a real key in the Notre Dame victory. He had 7 catches from Ian Book yesterday, and then Brandon Lenzy, that 70-yard touchdown pass. So Notre Dame was really picking apart the secondary of the Naval Academy, and I was expecting a much closer game. In fact, I actually picked Navy to win the game, but Notre Dame really came out yesterday and executed in all cylinders, and they really made a statement out on the field yesterday that this is a team that could run the table and finish the regular season with a 10-2 record.
Which is something I think we're all hoping for at this point in time, particularly after sustaining those 2 defeats early on.
And if that happens, they will play on New Year's Day in a top 6 bowl game. And right now, a lot of people are saying the Orange Bowl down in Miami. But you have to take care of business first. one more home game, and then they go on the road to Stanford. So Boston College next Saturday, and then they finish up at Stanford out in California. But an interesting note, Declan, kind of a little bad news for the Fighting Irish is that they had a consecutive sellout streak at Notre Dame Stadium that stretched all the way back to 1973. And yesterday, they only had 74,000 people at Notre Dame Stadium, and the capacity after renovation is about 79. So it's November, it's cold, but the good thing yesterday, the sun came out, which made it feel a little bit warmer, and it was a great football afternoon. The only dark side is that Notre Dame didn't have a lot of fans in the stands compared to the previous games. And then the one concern, if you really want to take a look at the offense, is that Notre Dame still has not established that running game like they wanted to. As Ian Book was the leading rusher yesterday, and you really don't want your quarterback to be the leading rusher. Tony Jones Jr. and Jafar Armstrong got some touches, but they really haven't shown that breakaway from the defense. And so that's one thing that Notre Dame will have to concentrate on and maybe try to experiment with and try to get going in that Boston College game on Saturday.
Is it a bit late in the regular season to kind of develop those aspects of the game, because we're running out of regular season games in which to do it?
It really depends on what the opposition throws at you. Now, because Navy has such an attacking defense and can defend the run because they face the triple option in practice every day, the Notre Dame coaching staff thought, hey, we could use the arm of Ian Book and look to Brendan Laidsley and the wide receiving core like Chase Claypool, and we could pick their secondary apart. The strength is going to be in our passing game. Boston College is going to pose a different challenge, and it might be a defense where they can run the ball effectively. And so can you experiment? I think you have to every game, depending on the situation, and you take what the defense gives you. And so we'll see what happens. Boston College has had a kind of a down year, and so this is a chance for not only to experiment getting the running game going again, but you might look at some new faces. As Sebo Flemister, a running back, is starting to get a little bit more carries as well, and so Notre Dame has a stable of about 4 running backs that they can use. And I think the coaching staff is going to say, all right, who of those 4 are going to be the players that are going to help us run the table and get to a bowl game on New Year's Day?
So Boston College seems to be out of the running for a bowl game at this point, are they?
Well, they could. I really haven't taken a look at their record right now, but to be bowl eligible, you have to have 6 wins.
Okay.
When I was a kid and when you were a kid, there were only a limited handful of bowl games, and they were played on, New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. But now it seems like there's a proliferation of bowl games, and teams last year, even there was a team with a losing record, with a 5-7 record that got into one because there were more bowl games than there were teams eligible.
Right.
But the top tier bowl games are still the ones that lead to the national championship. Notre Dame will not compete for the championship this year, but they can compete for a top bowl game. And that's great from a recruiting standpoint, from a fan perspective, and not only from a player development story, because the more games that you play, it just helps you in the previous or for the next season that's coming up.
Okay, we're going to take our next 3 bits of audio from the play-by-play. We're going to start off with Jones's touchdown run, and then Claypool's 4th touchdown, and then the interception from Moala. Is that right?
Paul Moala.
Paul Moala. Okay, so we're going to hear those now.
Takes the ball, hands up the middle to Jones, who reaches for the goal line, and he's down inside the 1. Ball came out. I think it came out late. Paul Carruthers, linebacker for Navy, knocked it out.
Over Notre Dame. Further review, the ruling on the field is that the runner had control of the ball and was not down before he placed the ball across the goal line. The result of the play is a touchdown.
Book from the shotgun, drops back, lifts one to the far side of the end zone. Chase Claypool goes up for it and comes down with it. No signal from the referees, but the Irish players are celebrating.
Call it, brother.
We'll call it a touchdown, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
For the Irish, 2nd down 10 on the 33. Olsen tosses the pitch. It's picked out of the air by Paul Moala. He'll run for a touchdown. Paul Moala picked off the option pitch and sprinted in all by himself. 24 yards. Notre Dame's defense scores. It's 51-10 with 14:39 left in the game.
You don't see that much. I mean, literally plucked the ball as they were pitching it out of the air. Hit it with his left hand and then hit the running back, Miles Fells. Popped in the air, and Paul Moala, sophomore out of Mishawaka, running it in the end zone. You don't see plays like that.
So Paul Moala putting the defense on the scoreboard for Notre Dame, which is always good to see. Those kind of interceptions are part of one of the plays that makes American football such an attractive sport to watch.
It was exciting. They actually credited that as a fumble recovery because the ball was pitched to the Navy running back in the backfield, and actually Paul Moala got in, hit the football, it ricocheted off the running back and then back into the arms of Paul Moala, who grew up just outside of South Bend in a little town called Mishawaka, Indiana. And so the hometown product put it into the end zone, and that just put icing on the top of the cake for the Fighting Irish.
That must be extra special for the likes of Paul Moala to you represent your hometown university, because it doesn't happen very often. With the drafting system, it doesn't happen very often.
Exactly. I know he had a lot of fans and friends in the stadium yesterday, and he has not had a lot of playing time this year, but when he makes plays like that, he is just making a statement that he wants to be on the field a little bit more. And so you have to go with the players who are delivering and coming up with big plays. And so one of the tough spots as being a coach at the University of Notre Dame is you've got so many players on scholarship. You have to find a chance to get them onto the playing field, and they did yesterday because Notre Dame jumped out to that early lead over Navy, allowing a player like Paul Moala to get on the field.
Now, what was the question mark in the playing officials' mind about Chase Claypool's fourth touchdown? I know they eventually gave it, but they didn't award it straight away. There seemed to be some question in their minds as to whether they were going to award it.
Well, there's a rule in college football that you have to have 1 foot in playing territory.
Okay.
And when they went to the review, Chase is so big. What Ian Book does, he throws it up there, and it's like a basketball center going up for a rebound. He's so big, he's so strong that when you throw it up there, it's really not a 50-50 ball. As Chris Fink, his teammate, said, hey, it's more of an 80-20 ball that Chase is going to come down with it. And so he came down, and it was so close to the out-of-bounds line that they had to go to the review, and they said, well, it was a good. Chase knew it was a touchdown, and so that they take a little time to take the review on television to make it fair, and it turned out in favor of Chase Claypool and the Fighting Irish.
So a 4-touchdown, as you say, that's equal to a university record, which is for Notre Dame, which is pretty special. So does that mean he's going to get his name on a list of honor?
Well, there's a list, and he's going to find his way on a Ring of Honor at the University of Notre Dame. But in the record book, they always list the players who have done something special or who have set a record. And there are a couple of other players who have had 4-touchdown games, the last one being Maurice Stovall, a wide receiver. And I have a feeling that the way Chase is playing is that he could possibly get 5 in the near future. And it's kind of funny, in the post-game press conference, they asked him if he had ever had a 4-touchdown game, and he looked up and he said, I had a 10-touchdoon game. And it turned out he had 10 touchdowns when he was 8th grade in British Columbia, Canada.
Yeah. Actually, a few years ago, we had a visiting team from Canada, a collegiate high school team, and they played a couple of the club teams here in Ireland at American football by the 11-a-side 4-down version of the game. And I saw one of the games take place here. It was the same weekend that we had our Shamrock Bowl back in the days when they still played it on a Saturday. Back in the days when I used to cover it, Len, that's the problem. They don't play them on Saturdays anymore, they play them on Sundays. But we've got a guy now who's going to be covering them for us going forward, so at least we have a reporter at them going ahead. But yeah, when they were on Saturdays, I used to go every year.
Yeah, and you talk about playing on Sundays. Chase Claypool really elevated his status as that he could be a top draft choice in the next year's NFL draft, and he's just getting bigger, faster, stronger, and more importantly, mentally able to play the game of football. And Declan, if I can change just a little bit and talk about the Navy game next year in Dublin, I had a chance to talk to Chet Gladchick, who is the Jack Swarbrick equivalent at the Naval Academy. And he came up, and I was talking to him, and he said, I understand that there's a report over at Notre Dame talking about the Fighting Irish. And I told him a little bit about On the Ball and what we've been doing over here. He thought that was, and I think he's been over here many times to try to get the game going. And he has offered, he said, if you want me to come on the show to talk with you and Declan about the Naval Academy in Dublin next year, just let me know a time. And then the other good news is that we did talk to Jack Swarbrick, and he is going to be ready to talk with us in December.
Great. Well, we'll definitely take up the naval guy on his offer, particularly in the run-up to the game next year, for sure.
And what he did tell me is that I asked him about the tickets, and right now he said that in 2012 it was Navy that was coordinating everything. What they've done this year is that they've actually sold off the rights to promote the game to a Notre Dame alum called John Anthony, who runs a travel agency that puts all these tours together. And so I asked him, I said, the most important question that we want to know, will tickets be made available for the local citizens in Dublin? And he said they were having that conversation that morning, and everything says is that there is going to be an announcement sometime in the near future on how to buy tickets for the opening game and at Aviva Stadium to kick off the 2020 football season. And another little wrinkle yesterday, ESPN Game Day was actually doing a little promotion. They were in Dublin at a pub doing a promotion, and ESPN Game Day had a little highlight on the television show yesterday about the 2020 game.
Okay, good. Well, it's so we've been promoting this game ever since it was announced, and even beforehand when it was just being hinted at, we were still promoting it. So we've been ahead of the curve here, I think, Len.
Well, that's the funny thing, because when Jake Latchik said, "Hey, I understood that ESPN was the first one over here," and he goes, "I understand you guys beat them by a year," and I said, "Yeah, we've been doing the program for 2 years now," and he just found that fascinating. And as I said, he would like to come on to talk about the Naval Academy because they're a national school as well. And he's just trying to be an ambassador for his program, just to talk about the Naval Academy and everything that institution stands for. And as I said, Declan, to you many times before, this is my favorite game because win or lose, it's about teammates, it's about pride, it's about unity. And the most touching thing after the game is that Notre Dame went down to help celebrate the Navy alma mater by singing with them, and then Navy returned the favor and went down on the other side of the pitch and stood with the Notre Dame players as they sang their national anthem or their alma mater. And so that just shows a sign of respect between the two institutions that have been playing football since 1927. It's the longest intersectional rivalry in college football, and yesterday they just concluded their 93rd game.
Oh, that's fantastic. But as you explained to me, historically, the two institutions have supported one another right down the line, which is fantastic as well.
If it wasn't for Navy during World War II, Notre Dame would have had to shut its doors. And Notre Dame has always appreciated that, and as long as Navy wants to be on the schedule, they're going to be on that schedule. But it's a tough offense to prepare for, not a lot of time. And I think if you really would nail Coach Brian Kelly down, he would say, I really don't want to play Navy, but if we do, let's play it in the first game so we don't have to face that triple option later on in the season.
Well, he's got his wish next year, hasn't he?
He does, and like I said, there's a lot of excitement on both sides from Navy and Notre Dame, and I tell you, even John Bon Jovi was there yesterday.
I saw the picture on Facebook. Yeah, is he an alum of either university?
His son actually was a walk-on and played on the football team a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And he is very instrumental in working with the band. So the band is just like the Fighting Irish football team. They're very popular. This year they played with the rock group Chicago. John Bon Jovi will even play with the band. And yesterday they were playing Waiting a Prayer, and they shot the television camera, and John Bon Jovi was up at the top of the stadium jumping up and down. It was, you never know who you're going to run into at Notre Dame Stadium.
Well, speaking on the subject of university marching bands and pop records, you know the song Tusk by Fleetwood Mac featured the USC Trojan band, marching band.
Yes. USC has a great
and they reckon
marching.
it was the most musicians ever featured on a hit record on the Billboard Hot 100.
Well, I wonder if they get any copyright or the royalties off of selling that song.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a very interesting one. And they actually recorded the marching band playing their part on the record in the football stadium because they couldn't find a recording studio big enough to house them all.
I guess Memorial Coliseum in L.A. is probably the biggest recording studio according to Guinness Book of World Records. But yesterday, just going back to the game once again, yesterday there was a flyover of 4 F-18 fighter pilots from an air station in California that was flown by 4 Notre Dame graduates. And as I said, it's the pageantry. It's seeing the mids out there in their dress uniforms. It was a cold day, but it was a great afternoon and just something special, and I was glad to be a part of it yesterday.
Now, last time Navy played here, there was an aircraft carrier in the river, and people were allowed to go out and visit it, and certain stuff. Is something similar happening this year, this coming game?
Well, it was the USS Fort McHenry, which is it's not an aircraft carrier. I think that would be a little bit too big to get into the Dublin port, but once again, Navy is planning on doing something from a public relations standpoint to bring a ship that would be located in the Atlantic Theater. And last year, or in 2012, it was the USS Fort McHenry, and I was very fortunate to be on that ship. And I met the Secretary of the Navy. Mm-hmm. And they'll do something like that to not only let the sailors and the Marines that are on that ship have a chance to come to Aviva Stadium and watch the football game, but it's also a chance for people in Dublin to see a little bit about the United States military and their naval presence in the Atlantic.
So next week, Boston College. And is this the final home game of the season, regular season?
It's the final home game of the season, if you can believe it. And we're hoping the weather will cooperate, but we anticipate a full house this time. There are only two major college football programs that are affiliated with the Catholic Church, two universities that are basically Catholic, and that's Boston College and Notre Dame. Boston College is a Jesuit school, and they have played at Aviva Stadium before. A couple of years ago, they played Georgia Tech. And so they have a strong football program. There is a tie between the two schools. Boston College has one of the largest Irish studies program in the United States, and they have a big presence in Dublin. And so I know there's going to be a lot of individuals. Anytime these two teams get together, anything can happen. And I just remember back to 1993 when a field goal by Boston College really took Notre Dame out of the national championship. Notre Dame should have won a national championship that year, but a field goal by Boston College defeated them, and that's just another reason why this game is so special.
Yeah, Boston College has a premises on Stevens Green East, if memory serves me right.
Well, that could be something. If you can round up the Boston College groups and the Notre Dame groups, and everybody can meet at a place. It's going to be a 2:30 Eastern time game, so not too bad. So about 7:30 at night.
7:30 Irish, yeah.
Get together, have a chance to watch the game and be friends until the game starts.
Okay. So any problems with people being hurt after yesterday's game? Have we got a clean bill of health to a full panoply of players to choose from for next week's game?
Well, when you play the triple option, the blocking scheme by the Navy, it really takes a toll on the Notre Dame players. And yesterday there were a couple of injuries. I can't speculate right now, but at 2 o'clock Eastern time, Brian Kelly will have a teleconference, and we will find out if there are any injuries. And so hopefully there's not. But I know one Notre Dame player had to be assisted off the field yesterday, and not a good sign, especially at this time of the year when your body's getting tired. Being a student athlete, as we've talked about, the exams coming up, and you're just fatigued. And I think the big difference the past couple of years is Notre Dame has a great strength and conditioning program, and I think that's been the difference the past couple of years is that the training has put Notre Dame into a position where they can compete and possibly walk out of 2019 with a 10-2 season.
Okay, well, that's what we're hoping for at this point in time. Len, thank you so much for joining us, as always, and we look forward to the big game at Boston College, and you're going to tell me all about it in 7 days' time.
Thank you, Declan, and once again, we do appreciate the support of Indiana Dunes, and you can learn more about the activities at the nation's newest national park at indianadunes.com.
Len, talk to you soon, and that's all we have time for.